Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Immigration. Do we have a bunch of stuff to talk about? Okay, I've turned on Telegram, I've turned on Twitter. So, as many of you all know, travel ban went into effect a week ago. What did I just do? And that travel ban, if ever you want to look at it, you go to news, presidential actions, proclamation. It's not an executive order. It is a proclamation. And as you can tell, Trump is a crazy old guy and he's making all kind of proclamations. But this is it, the long one. Okay, so many people are coming to me with questions about like, what can I do because I'm affected by the ban? For most people that are affected by the ban, there are only three ways around it. One is if a federal court enjoins or orders the administration to apply the ban differently. That's the first thing. Nobody that I'm aware of has filed a lawsuit challenging this ban, so that's not going to happen in the short term. Ready to Law is amending complaints in 3 or 4 of our lawsuits to challenge the ban on behalf of different categories. Plus, it appears we're going to offer group lawsuits, 2 that I'm aware of. One for family preference categories, like F2As. A bunch of Cuban F2As are impacted here. Also, F1, F2B, F3, and F4s. But that's going to be one lawsuit. And then we're going to do a separate lawsuit just for DV 2025 selectees who have already attended interview. Okay. If you're a DV 2025 selectee from one of the select countries and you've already attended interview, we're going to be announcing a lawsuit for you. So those are the 2 group lawsuits that we plan. However, we're not onboarding them yet. And the more you email me and ask me questions, the longer it's going to take me to onboard them. Next step is I need to create case prospectus outlining how the lawsuit works. I need to get that approved from my team because everybody in our team, we all work on things. So, we need to be all invested in it. And then after that, we will put it on the website. We'll start the onboarding. We'll probably make some videos in different languages so that we can do outreach, reach people that are impacted by the travel ban better. So talk a little bit about the viability of a lawsuit. Because of Trump versus Hawaii, we know what doesn't work. You can't challenge the lawsuit saying it's a Muslim ban and then it's thus discriminatory because that didn't work last time. So we're not going to try that again. We have a couple of other approaches that we're going to use to challenge the ban, including the non-delegation doctrine. And I look forward to representing impacted people, and hopefully we're going to get rid of this travel ban. But odds are against us, and I need everybody to understand that. If you're thinking about participating in a group lawsuit or you're thinking about hiring another lawyer to challenge travel ban, just understand odds are against our success, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to fight. Okay, we're still going to fight. Okay, I got on my tangent there. There's 3 ways that if you're impacted by this travel ban that you could be issued a visa. 1, litigation, like I just said. The second is Donald Trump rescinds the ban or his successor rescinds the ban. I don't foresee that happening in the near future, especially with stuff that's going on with Israel and Iran. Okay, so I think that ban, if anything, it'll get worse. And there's been a news report that that's possible, that they could add 35 more countries. Hope not. Okay, the third way is if a visa applicant acquires a dual nationality, okay, that's where, like, say you're, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're Iranian, but you obtain a passport and a citizenship for a country, has to have a passport too, for a country that's not affected by the travel ban. For a lot of Iranians that have financial means, that will probably mean Turkey. As I understand it, I've talked to some people that work in this space. I say some people, one other colleague. It takes about a $400,000 investment in real estate in Turkey to have a path to Turkish citizenship. So some of you out there have the means, get with me and I'll connect you with that person that handles that. There are more affordable options, like Vanuatu, Vanuatu. This is a little country that you can possibly get their citizenship for about $130,000. And that's plus the $5,000 application fee. So maybe $135,000. Then you have a second passport. The bad thing is that second passport is not recognized by the Schengen area. Okay, so it could be a passport for the purposes of what you're trying to do here, but it isn't the best little second passport you can get. There are some other countries, but those are the main two. Also, something to consider if you're trying to get dual nationalship, another country's citizenship is citizenship by investment. CBI is one route that we were just talking about, but there's also citizenship by descent. And a lot of times people don't realize this, that they might have a claim to citizenship based upon one of their grandparents or one of their parents that, they haven't explored that, because not everybody's parents are both from the same country, or not everybody's grandparents are from the same country. And sometimes there may be a path that way. So an expert in that is Parvez Malaluki. That's one of my colleagues. It's an immigration attorney. He's really good at citizenship by descent. Okay, so basically 3 ways you could get a visa if you're affected by the travel ban. The lawsuits work and the courts give a path. Or the second way is the president makes it go away, or his successor does. And the third way is you put yourself in a position where you have an exception by creating another citizenship, obtaining another citizenship. Okay, now I know that a lot of people are like asking the question now, like, well, what about national interest? It says national interest, like the Secretary Blinken or Attorney General Bondi can say someone's in the national interest. I've not seen any guidance on how that's going to happen. I'm hoping that a consular officer, leaks that cable, that section of the Foreign Affairs Manual that's just updated, because visa applicants are clueless. We don't know the process. I've asked government attorneys in our litigation, and they're not sharing the information. I mean, the State Department's not sharing it with them. So we don't know if national interest exception is even possible, or waiver, or whatever. We don't even know if that's possible. Similarly, for EB2 NIWs, it's true. The Department of Homeland Security already found that you were in the national interest. So you would think that Secretary Rubio would find you were in the national interest, but we don't know. And I've asked government attorneys, haven't got an answer on that yet. Similarly, there's some language in the proclamation about religion, about ethnic or religious persecutions. And a lot of people think, well, maybe I qualify for that. We think that language was put in there because of some very discrete visa categories that most people don't know about, that were designed to get ethnic and religious minorities out of Iran. However, It doesn't say that on the text of the proclamation. So maybe that will evolve to be a path. I don't know. It's too early to tell. So lots of travel ban talk there. There's one more thing I wanted to say about the travel ban. And of course, I'm always open to your questions. If you have questions, you could drop them in the comments and I'll be happy to ask. I was going to show you an image I screenshotted. Yes, let me show you this. Okay, so you remember how there's an exception in the travel ban that says immediate relatives are an exception if they can show convincing evidence of identity and familial relationships or something? Well, clear and convincing evidence of identity and family relationship. Well, we were hoping that that was just a restatement of existing law. And because I mean that's how an I-130 is approved. They say, "Oh yeah, that's your son, that's your dad." Okay, petition approved. But no, they've added another layer of requirement here. I've got this is I'm trying to remember. Bring proof of your relationship between you and your petitioner. Um, so this was a father. This was an IR5, and they said, "Oh, well, you need to come back for a re-oath appointment and bring photos. Bring at least 5 photos from childhood." I would never recommend that you bring only 5 photos unless that's all the photos that your family has. I would recommend that you take all the photos, that you overwhelm them with evidence of the relationship. Because if you don't, they're going to say, well, we need a DNA test. And then, Trump probably owns the DNA testing company for all we know. But that's going to add significant expense and delays, and you want to avoid that. Now, I realize that many of you out there are from a different culture or custom where you didn't grow up with cameras, and not every moment, like my mother had a baby book and took a picture of me every day, more than one usually. Most of you all didn't have that. Some of you all didn't have that privilege that your mother was just always with a camera, tick, 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 tick. So that situation, I would ask uncles and aunts. I would do everything I can to find every picture with you and your parent or whatever the relationship is. Okay. Because this photo requirement, I don't want that to trigger another several month to year long, more than a year long process regarding DNA. I'm hoping that you all will do everything you can to avoid that. Okay. I've talked about the travel ban a lot. I do have one more. Since we don't have questions, I do got one more thing to say about the travel ban. I wrote a blog entry about this, but about a week ago, and I might have, if you saw last week's show, I might have talked about it. I don't remember. What will happen for those people in AP? Okay, so I asked the government attorney of this, like right after the travel ban was issued on June 9th, and I got this answer. The visa applications will remain refused under 221G like they are now. Additional security screening remains ongoing until the visa applications are re-adjudicated. The department cannot determine whether visa exceptions to the provisions of the proclamation will be granted. So, in other words, if you're in AP, you're probably going to stay in AP like you would have until the national security vetting's done. Once the national security vetting's done, then the consular officer is going to change your case from 221G to 214B. There's a lot of people that say, oh, no, that would be the bad thing. No, the bad thing is the travel ban that just happened. Having, whether you're 221G under a travel ban or 214B under a travel ban, the reality, or 212F, sorry, 212F under, the reality is you don't get a visa either way. So I think a lot of people are hopeful that they can stay in 221G indefinitely, like until the ban is gone. That's unlikely because remember, odds are against us in the lawsuits for removing the ban. And also, it's unlikely that Trump would rescind the ban. So, lots of things to think about here, right? So, I've been talking to a lot of fiancés, U.S. citizens who have pending fiancé petitions for their Iranian or Cuban or Yemeni spouse, one of the countries impacted by the travel ban, and they are like, well, can I just wait this out? I would not recommend it because at any moment when that, let's say you've already done the interview, at any moment when that 221G switches to 212F with a fiance application, I think that's going to end it. I don't think that they're going to let you start that back up. I mean, it's possible that we have another president, like a very progressive president, that goes back and tries to fix that for people, but I wouldn't think so because fiance petitions have built in that they're temporary. That consular officers, when they have a fiance petition that's in AP or whatever, they're waiting for a final decision at the embassy, they have to manually go in and renew it for periods of time. And sometimes they choose not to because they're like, well, we don't have evidence recently that the relationship is strong, you know? So fiance petitions are just not as strong as spouse petitions. So I am encouraging U.S. citizens who have pending K-1s out there to just go ahead and get married. Forget about your K-1, start over, get married, do an I-130, and do that soon because there's going to be a surge of petitions and it's going to cause another backlog. And it could be the difference if you do it in the next couple months versus do it at 6 months from now. It could be a difference of like a year and a half on your total journey just because of the backlog that's going to be at embassies due to this surge that's about to happen. Okay. So I talked about fiancés. There's one other situation out there where the DV selectee is already in the U.S. for travel. I'm talking about travel ban countries, okay? DV selectee is already in the U.S. Our employment-based primary applicant is already in the U.S. The derivative is outside the U.S. And now there's a ban stopping the derivatives application from moving forward. Or ultimately, it'll be refused under 212F. So for those two situations, my recommendation is to file a new I-130. Green card holder inside the United States, you can petition for your spouse with a new I-130. Create a new immigration path for them because the one that they have now is no longer viable. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I'm a green card holder, so if I file an I-130 for my spouse or children, it's going to be F2A visa category, which is not an exception to the travel ban. You are smart to think that, but here are the two things that you're not thinking ahead on. It takes 3 to 5 years for that thing to be ready for a visa anyway. In that 3 to 5 years, either this ban's going to be gone, it's going to be rescinded, or a court's going to say it's gone, or another president is, let's hope, right? Or you're going to naturalize. You're eligible for naturalization 5 years after you entered. Actually, a lot of you are watching here at DV 2020 and 2021 selectees. You need to be listening to me. 5 years after your entry, you're eligible to naturalize. So a few months before that, you need to be getting with me. I know you have my email address and my phone number because we talked before, right? So DV 2020 and 2021 selectees, I should be hearing from you soon. Okay. It's a lot of me rambling about stuff. I think it's too much. 20 minutes of me rambling. Does anybody need any more? Got one more thing to say. Ukraine, you for you. Okay. There's a lot of you for you Ukrainians and other parolees that aren't you for you inside the U.S. And there was a story that broke today. I think it broke today, the 18th. Yes. Where Judge orders USCIS to resume processing immigration benefits for humanitarian paroles. Okay. And so that had already happened, but now there's supposedly a memo. There's a link to that memo. There's a link to that memo in an affidavit. And so USCIS is supposed to be processing. How do I make this bigger? Why is everything so hard? USCIS is supposed to be processing those applications now. But for those of you who have a time limit, like DV 2025 selectees, and your immigration benefit disappears on September 30th, I wouldn't depend too much on this Kika Scott declaration. I would move forward with litigation. We are offering a lawsuit that, it's already closed. We're not including any more plaintiffs on it, but we're doing that for at least one individual DV 2025 family and also for a small group. And if you find yourself in that situation, if you're a DV 2025 selectee in the U.S. and you have your adjustment of status application is not moving forward, tick-tock. You only got see how I have all these clocks? It's because time matters. It moves. So you only have so much time. I recommend you pursue or explore, investigate mandamus litigation now, because that is not a solution for August or September. It's a solution that you have to get started early. Okay, so I do have a question. Amir says, talk about the second travel ban in 36 countries. Amir, I'm not going to talk about that because I don't know about it. It's just speculation. It's not, the White House has not issued it. It's probably Stephen Miller just making stuff up. But if I try to speculate about what's going to happen with the travel ban and then I'm wrong, everybody's like, you didn't say that. But obviously, there are countries that we know will be on it. Egypt, he warned people on the existing ban that Egypt might be added next time. Pakistan has always been kind of on the horizon for being added, right? So I don't know what other countries. So anyway, I'm not going to speculate about that. I understand why you would like to know that, but I don't have a way to know. Okay, but thank you for the question, Amir. I'm going to go ahead and cut today's show short. If you joined late, you could always go back and rewatch it. And anyway, if you're messaging me on Telegram or WhatsApp, it's true. I am several days behind. I'm sorry. Part of that's because, and I don't know how this happened, hundreds of Cuban families have been reaching out to me nonstop, trying to get me to file this lawsuit, and I'm going to file the lawsuit, but I cannot handle hundreds of emails a day. Well, I already get hundreds of emails. I can't handle hundreds of more. So anyway, I am behind on Telegram and WhatsApp. If you wanted to have a Zoom consult with me, you could still go to our website and book that there, although it's a few days behind now. So that's all I got. Everybody take care of yourself. If you're in a war zone, please be safe and know that our thoughts and prayers are with you. Bye-bye.